Hi there, this is Oksana. Today is our next day for practicing the visualization. Alright, so what are we going to talk about today? Today we will talk about a few very important things, right? So first, let's continue practicing what we started. Remember our goal in 21 days to create habits which will allow us automatically restore our health without any particular effort. We are continuing practicing using the hand, which we usually do not use. Like for example, my dominant hand is right, so I am trying to remind myself to use my left hand as much as possible. And we are practicing a very important thing before we go to sleep. We imagine ourselves in that big egg. We are completely inside of that egg, which is full with the thick energy, and we look at that energy and try to make it very even, so we don't see any issue or any spot that we don't like inside. So these three things we do every day, and we will develop a habit. Now, every time I want to share what my progress is. So I almost don't even have to remind myself to take the toothbrush with my left hand. I'm doing it already by itself, so I don't have to put any effort into that. I am brushing my hair with the left hand, and I have to say that it's the most difficult. So brushing teeth is not that difficult than brushing the hair. So I still cannot fully complete brushing with my left hand. So I always have to finish with the right. I almost automatically take the spoon and the fork into the left hand, and the cup I'm drinking now, holding it with my left hand. So I see it's a progress. So it's very important that both sides of our brain are functioning. That will give a much bigger potential for us going forward. If not only one part of the brain is working, but both, right, equally. What else? I see in myself, right? I noticed that every time I get up, already automatically I acknowledge the sense how body is functioning, and I send that gratitude and my gladness. That it's very important to add some emotions, because that gives that power, right? So that already I do automatically. So I stand up, and I start walking, and I already fixating that movement, that my body is functioning well. It's moving well, it's light, it's good, it's doing everything it should be doing. And I express my happiness about this and the gratitude. Alright, so that's my progress. I hope you guys do too, feel some changes. And I noticed that I do have more energy, and I feel that I have creative ideas. So there is definitely a positive improvement in that area. And I noticed that I am happier overall, right? So those little things that I see outside, they make me happy. Before I wouldn't notice, right? So, but yesterday when I was walking outside, there was a couple that was also walking and going towards me. I see them very often. Actually, now when during the winter, I didn't see them that much because the day is short. But when I met them yesterday, I don't know their names. We usually don't talk. We just say hi, and we just continue, right? But yesterday, they said Merry Christmas. Oh, that made me so happy. It's incredible. I don't even know, like, it's just to show you how how overall my inner being changed, right? So they use the word vibration now, right? So I definitely, if we start using that modern terminology, right, I definitely got to the way higher vibration than I used to be before this practice, right? So that's definite. So in this thing, what I just described, of hearing Merry Christmas from that neighbors passing by, that made me happy, right? So that is a sign that I am on a high vibration right now, and I started feeling better, stronger connection with. I don't want to use the word God, right? I don't know what that is. Maybe it is God, maybe it is something else, maybe angel, higher forces, not sure. It's definitely very good, very positive, very light, and it's not human, right? But it is there, and I do feel connection, and I get answers from that. So that is more active now. All right, so that's about me, my experience. Now, I want to share a few other things that again came from that higher force. We can call it Purusha, right? Maybe it is. From Sri Aurobindo, that's the terminology he used from yoga, from India. So let's call it Purusha, right? So there is this additional information about how to heal yourself. Alright, so let's do this. Let me explain what that is. So if you notice any issue with your body, like some area that is causing an issue, or you have a concern, or you don't feel that something's right there. Alright, so what you can do, and that's what I do, right? So you definitely have a feeling there, right? So you know there is something. Try to imagine how it looks. What is going on in that area? Everybody may see it differently, right? Some may see that there is this dark spot, or there is a blockage of moving energy, right? And it doesn't go. Some will see the color, that it may be very red, bright. Some will see the light, the pulsation, maybe something else. Like it doesn't matter, but you will see it, you will feel it. Some maybe will see even the body inside that particular organ, in blood and cells. So it doesn't matter. So you just should see that pain, right? Once you see it, start looking at this with your internal vision, right? Start looking and watching and looking until you see that it's fading out. It's not as bad. It's not as strong. If it's an inflation, continue looking until you see that it's spread out, maybe even completely gone. So continue doing this until maybe multiple times, until it's gone completely. For example, I am doing it I do have a throat issue, right? So I constantly feel that there is something that's bothering me. I need to clear my throat. So that's what I do. I'm seeing it. I see something in there that I don't like, right? It shouldn't be there. So I continue watching and looking until I see that it is gone. It may take some time, and I need to do that multiple times. But if definitely after, like from that, doing this, I start feeling better. This method is very, very helpful with asthma. Any strong symptom of asthma can be very quickly removed. Maybe, I don't know about permanently, but for that particular moment, definitely using this technique can make it better very quickly. You can use your hands too at the same time. So around that area, what I do, and you will feel how it is, how you should do it. It must be done on using your feeling, the way you think is right. So what I do while I am visualizing what I just said, I'm taking my hand and I'm not touching my skin, so there is some distance, not big, small, and I feel from that hand there is, first of all, there is a warmth and there is energy that's going from the hand to that area, and I start slowly moving my hand down and up, again down and up. It's slow, and while moving, the energy around that area, I'm with the energy of my hand, I'm trying to make it again even, just like in the egg, like that there is no thick concentration, there is no blockage, and the flow is even. I'm doing it all with my hand. At the same time, I'm visualizing inside what is going on, right? So if it's an inflammation, then I'm making it spread, so it's not as concentrated and maybe even gone completely. All right, so that is a little tip what you can do yourself already on that particular area, and I hope it's gonna work for you. Another thing I recommend doing, take the most from walking outside. Walking, as ancient people were saying, walking outside, having a walk, is the main cure from all diseases. So let's make sure we do that every day. At least try. And when you do that, try to do that at the daylight, when it's not dark, because the sunlight is very important. It's not just the light, there is much more going on at that moment. So we get much more from sun than we know. So try to walk when sun is there, right? And preferably when it's not only there, but when it's not as high, it's closer to the sunset, so you can look at it and it doesn't burn your eyes. Alright, so about walking. When you walk, don't use the phone, don't listen to anything. Just listen to the nature, to the space around you. It's all full of life. Just listen to that. Listen to the trees, to the wind, to the birds, to the squirrels. to the sky, and to the sun. All of those are alive. Not just alive, but they have consciousness, just like us. It's a different consciousness. They're not human, but they do have that. They are live object with the consciousness. Start paying attention and feeling that. In time, if you practice that every day, you will start hearing, you will start understanding. And at the same time, let's say Purusha, it's also out there, right? It's in all of those objects. God is in everything. And that consciousness is part of it. But it's also by itself out there. So maybe you will start feeling that too. And during the walk, you will start getting answers to the most important questions that you have, something that bothers you, concerns you. All of a sudden, you will start understanding why it's happening, what to do with that, what the purpose, and what's the best way to deal with this. So use walking for all of this, right? So lots of things will start happening if you just start paying attention to all of these things. All right, so that's about walking. Now about programming. Everything in our life now, not everything, but lots of it, consists programming of us to be sick. So we're going to focus on health. So there is a lot of programming of other things, but we will focus on health because our goal right now is to restore it, to get to our greatest potential that we can have right now in our body. So lots of programs out there in our life to program to get us sick. Wherever you go, you will see it. There are posters, there are commercials, all talking about diseases. You have this problem, you have that symptoms, and that programs us to start looking for all those symptoms. Or maybe I do have that, or maybe I'm gonna have that. Oh my God, my right lip is kind of not functioning the same way as the left side of the lip. Oh, that's the first sign of the stroke. It's coming. Oh my, somebody I know just had a stroke. I think I am gonna have that too. Oh, that pain here on the side. What if it's a cancer? Everybody has cancer now. I know 5, 6 people. How can I avoid it? It must be cancer. So all these thoughts, right? So it's a result of programming. So that programming is coming from almost everywhere. And the greatest programmers of us being sick are doctors. So once you start going and visiting them, they will definitely find, and you will help them to find some chronic problem that you would have to go to them now every month, and you will have to drink all this expensive medicine and God forbid maybe even surgery. So the greatest programmers on earth are doctors and pharmaceutical companies. They program us to be sick. And I just want to remind you what people don't remember, maybe did not even know. But our great-grandparents, they did not go to doctors. And that's a fact. My great-grandmother, she died at the age of 94. She never seen a doctor. maybe at the end of the life, just a dentist, but that's it. Never. And I don't remember her drinking any pills, so she died without any chronic disease. She didn't have any surgery, and that's how people lived. She was not unique. When she had a headache, she did not take Advil. She did not take any pills. She would just take the cloth, the wet cloth, and put it around the head, and she would just go with that cloth around the head, and that's it. There was a movie, the black and white movie. It's I don't remember the name, but I remember this moment. You know, when we watch old movies, black and white, when we watch them, we can get a glimpse of how people lived, how they thought, what that time was about. So, in that movie, that was a time when villages were disappearing and people were mostly moving in Soviet Union to the cities, to the multi-story building apartments. So there is this old man, grandfather, and his daughter or grandkids, they came. It's already hard for him to live in the house, right? Physically, it's difficult for him to take care of the house and around it. So the kids came and they asked him to join them in the apartment in the city. So, and there is this conversation which I remember up until today. The girl, the daughter or granddaughter, is saying, "Dad, you never went to the doctor. Let's maybe schedule some appointment. What if something's wrong with you and maybe you need some care, some help?" And his answer was absolutely shocking. Here's what he said, and that's how people lived. That's where the mind was at that time. He said, "I lived the whole my life without doctors, and I want to die without them." So people did not go to the doctors. No annual checkups or anything. There were some people in the area which knew about herbs, about natural remedies. Plus, everybody already knew that, like about for the common problems. Every family knew what to do. But there is something unusual. There was always somebody in the area which knew which herb to take, which ointment that they made out themselves to use, right? Like something they all knew, and that's all they used. There were no chronic diseases like we do now. It was not so common. Even it's incredible, but really, like people these days, they have way more problems, health problems, than at that time. Like when I was a child, I did not know anybody with the diabetes. None. Especially kids. I didn't know any kid with any chronic disease. These days, when my daughter went to school, I think you can really count on hand kids which didn't have any chronic problem. There is everybody has some issue. It's either diabetes since very young age or something else. This is our reality. So us seeing doctors and using this advanced pharmaceutical It's proven that it makes us really sick since we are little kids. So my belief is that the further we stay from them, the better overall. And that's my belief. Alright, then just the last thing about how people lived at that time, my great grandmother. So the way they lived, they didn't have much money, like almost none. So that's why they had to grow their own food. At that time, everybody had chicken with eggs. Everybody had either the goat, some had cow for the milk. Everybody had some little garden where they would grow their own food, potatoes for the winter. They were growing things themselves, and they didn't eat much. Food was the luxury that they could not afford in the quantity that we get now. So that's why they really ate little. I don't know, 10 times less than we eat these days. It was all natural. They grew that themselves without chemicals. Meat, they didn't eat much because that was the greatest luxury, maybe on holidays, or if you are wealthy, maybe once a week. That's it. And definitely no candies, right? So candies, it's extra something that, first of all, it was not mostly available. Second, nobody would spend the money on that. So honey, yes, they all, most of them knew what that is, and that's been used. So this is the food they ate. They spent way more time outside than we do. We are mostly inside. That walking for 1 hour, that's really great that we do, right? But they spent outside majority of the day. They lived in the small houses, but those houses, they really almost have never been inside. They've been, especially in a warm period of times, they've been very active, having physical activities the whole day, not sitting, but really moving outside. So that is the difference between them and us. And as you see, they did not have all those diseases that we do. So maybe we can really try to, I know it's impossible to return completely, but at least to remember and try to get closer to that style of living that they did. Alright, so that's all about this. Okay, another thing, when you walk, did I say that? I don't remember. Don't listen to the phone or anything. Just listen to the outside, right? Listen to the trees, listen to the sky. When you look at the sun, when you walk, and try walking when the sun is closer to the sunset so you can look at that. So looking at the sun is one practice that is known, right? In, I don't know, India, or so it's it's one of the way to awake your conscious and activate your brain. You know, the eyes are closest to the brain. They really are not even separated by anything. Some even say that eyes is a part of the brain. So the closest point in our body to the brain are the eyes. So when we look at the sun, but make sure that it's towards the sunset, so it's not active, so it's not burning. So when you look at the sun through the nerves in the eyes, the brain gets stimulated and very activated, right? So you can activate your brain. just by practicing that every day. Some people, it's called, you can look at, if you want to look at that practice, I think it's called sun gazing or sun staring. So people really like do that on the sunset and sunrise. They spend some time, there is this technique, they start with the seconds and then they increase it to minutes, right? So as a result, after some time, some very important things start happening. You will start feeling new abilities which you didn't have, awakening, and some centers or codes get activated in the brain, right? So, but I don't know if you want to go to that extreme. Maybe I did that for years, but now I'm just doing it while I'm walking, right? So when you walk, you can just look at the sun and start and focus on paying attention what is happening at that time, and look at the sun as the live object. It does have a consciousness just like us, but different because it's not a human. It has a very strong consciousness and you can get in contact, right? So I will tell later, not today, about what kind of contact I get with the sun. Alright, so, and regarding Purusha, or let's say our inner center, inner source, what we really are, because we are not our emotions, we are not our body, and we are not our mind. All of this, mind, emotions, and mind, that is given to us during for this life only. But there is part of us which is, let's say, in the beginning, it's only the observer. There is this part of us which sees everything without getting involved. This is us, right? Most of the people never feel it, never know about that there is this part of us, that they live a very mechanical life using only things that are temporary, only for this life, and they are not aware, and that part that is eternal never is awakened. So it's in a sleep, deep sleep for the whole life. And if it never wakes up, as a result, that really the life is wasted, because the true ourself is that thing. And there is nobody better who described that whole process of awakening it as Sri Aurobindo in those notes from Pavitra. Pavitra is a student of Sri Aurobindo, so if you can find it, try to read. I'm just gonna try to refer to one of the sections in that book from Pavitra, where Sri Aurobindo is saying that there is this area inside of us which is outside of time and space, and it is not involved in the emotions or in the mind. Our first goal is to focus in that area and try to be there for as much as we can. It is called Mukti. From that side of our being, there is Purusha, and there are different attributes which are getting open slowly and gradually, one after another. In the beginning, that center represents itself like just the observer of all activities and emotions and the thoughts that is happening in our body. After that, that center becomes the controller. That center decides what to approve and what to disapprove. Which emotion the center approves, which mind, which thought, or which activity. That center approves or disapproves. And once the approval is received or not received, for example, if not received, to have some emotion, then the human, the person, declines that emotion, even though by the habit there is still a desire to use or react certain way. After that, Purusha is becoming the knowledgeable. That's the next stage. And it contains the knowledge. There are a few forms of that. The lowest is the intuition. And after that, there is a uniting. It's getting the knowledge, low knowledge by uniting with God. In any case, our emotions are no longer needed to get the knowledge. We will start getting that knowledge directly. And finally, Purusha is opening up as Ishvara, God. And it starts using its tools, and it's getting control over everything completely. And that is getting in two stages. In the beginning, it is a small contact with Purusha through the mind. There is no other way to do that through the mind than through the mind in the beginning, because we don't know any other way. The human will start recognizing that the mind and emotions and the body is not us. It's not part of us. It's just the tool. So we have to separate ourselves, that center, from all of that. So start seeing it as outsiders, as something external to us. In order to get there, the first thing is we have to stop thinking, right? For the period of time, we have to start the flow of the thoughts with using our will, right? In the beginning, with the mind, it's very hard for me because I'm translating at the same time I'm just reading. That's why it's going so slow. I apologize. In the beginning, with the mind, and again, there is no other way. So we have to use the mind. In the beginning, we don't know any other way. We have to separate ourselves from the thoughts and start seeing it as the observer, outside observer, and start studying that. And when it is separated, when our thoughts are separated, it becomes easier after that. This is the first step of yoga. There is another way. There is a way, and that's important. So that is how we can do that from inside. But there is a way to achieve that from outside. When Purusha, or God, can do it for us from outside. So that is another way. So God is basically inside and outside. So we can awaken it ourselves from inside and connect with God, or it can happen from outside. God itself can do that for us and still connect. So these are two ways. All right, so then he's saying, and I'm still reading that from the book. It's just nobody said it better than Sri Aurobindo or Pavitra, because that's the book from Pavitra. But his talks with Sri Aurobindo. All right, so so what he's saying is that that energy is coming from above, down, and not the other way, not like in Tantra. In Tantrism, it's from bottom to the top. Here it goes the other way, from the top to the bottom. Finally, our goal is to separate ourselves, that center, from our mind, and recognize our mind as something that we can just observe as outsider. Let the thoughts flow themselves without any involvement. Start doing it during the meditation, and once you see the result, try to bring that to the everyday life. Make it constant. So what Sri Aurobindo was saying is that he got to the point where that's been his permanent state, right? So he could use the mind if he needed, but he did not, right? So he had a completely only that Purusha was the center and the main point of activity. So he did not use the mind anymore. All right, it was difficult to translate, but I did that. So it's a book I highly suggest to read. You'll get a lot from this. But anyway, thank you so much, and have a good day. Take care.